Rory Calhoun truly hated him more than anyone. Rory Calhoun was born Francis Timothy McCown on August 8, 1922, in Los Angeles, California. His birth name reflected his Irish-American heritage. His father, James McCown, was an Irish gambler known for his turbulent lifestyle and erratic fortunes, while his mother, Elizabeth Cuthbert, was a woman of quiet resilience who had to make difficult decisions after the early loss of her husband. Rory's earliest years were shaped by uncertainty and instability. The death of his father when Rory was still an infant, less than 10 months old, left a void in the family that never truly healed. After James's passing, Elizabeth remarried, hoping to provide a more stable home, but the new arrangement would introduce more challenges than comforts. As a child, Rory moved with his family to Santa Cruz, California, a picturesque town by the Pacific Ocean, far from the glamorous buzz of Hollywood. Yet, Santa Cruz didn't offer him the idyllic childhood one might imagine. With his biological father gone and a tense relationship with his new stepfather, Rory's home life became a battleground. His stepfather was harsh, unkind, and allegedly abusive. In an attempt to forge a new identity under this strained domestic setup, Rory adopted his stepfather's surname and was for a time known as Frank Durgan. But instead of shielding him from pain, the name change symbolized a deeper detachment from his true self. Struggling emotionally and lacking proper guidance, Rory began drifting toward delinquency at an early age. His rebellious spirit and growing resentment toward authority made him a regular troublemaker. By the age of 13, he committed his first serious crime, stealing a revolver. The theft resulted in his incarceration at the Preston School of Industry, a juvenile reform institution located in Ione, California. The facility, which was designed to reform young offenders through strict discipline and hard labor, did little to rehabilitate Rory. Instead, it hardened his resolve to reject societal expectations. He managed to escape from the school, an audacious act that foreshadowed his lifelong tendency to defy authority. By 17, his situation worsened. Tired of enduring beatings and emotional abuse from his stepfather, Rory made a bold and life-altering decision. He ran away from home. Living on the streets, he survived by relying on his wits and taking part in criminal activities. He hot-wired cars, robbed jewelry stores, and often stole vehicles, using them to travel across state lines. These high-risk escapades eventually caught up with him. After stealing a car and driving it across California, he was caught and sentenced to 3 years in prison, a significant sentence for someone so young. Rory served his prison term at the United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri, a facility intended for inmates who required psychiatric or medical care. His time there was pivotal. It gave him a chance to reflect, but more importantly, it placed him in proximity to people from vastly different backgrounds, experiences that would later inform the rough-edged but deeply human characters he portrayed on screen. He was released just shy of his 21st birthday, having already lived a lifetime's worth of hardship by then. Following his release, Rory tried to reform his life and explore honest ways to earn a living. He wandered through the American West and held a diverse range of manual labor jobs, which included working as a mechanic, a logger in the dense forests, a hard rock miner, a cowboy, a fisherman, and a truck driver. Each of these jobs not only added to his real-world experience, but also sculpted his rugged persona, one that would one day fit naturally into Hollywood's Western genre. One day, while riding a horse in a Los Angeles park, a chance encounter would change everything. He was spotted by Alan Ladd, a rising actor at the time, who saw something striking in Rory's appearance and mannerisms, something that could translate well on screen. That encounter led to a connection with Sue Carroll, a prominent Hollywood talent agent and Ladd's wife. Impressed by Rory's photogenic looks, chiseled features, towering frame, and cowboy charisma, Carroll arranged a screen test at 20th Century Fox. Rory's early roles were small and uncredited, such as in Something for the Boys, 1944, Sunday Dinner for Soldiers, 1944, and even a brief appearance in a Laurel and Hardy film. These minor roles gave him entry into the industry, where he was credited for the first time as Frank McCown in The Bullfighters, 1945. His big break came when he caught the attention of Henry Wilson, a talent scout and agent working under legendary producer David O. Selznick. Wilson had a reputation for discovering handsome male actors and giving them catchy, marketable names. He rebranded Frank McCown as Rory Calhoun, a name that evoked frontier grit and Irish charm. But Calhoun's path to stardom was far from smooth. In 1945, the same year of his first credited role, he found himself in trouble again, this time for punching a detective, which resulted in a brief return to prison. His reputation as a Hollywood bad boy was quickly cemented. Despite this setback, Rory's career began to gain momentum. In 1947, he landed his first notable film role in The Red House, a psychological thriller starring Edward G. Robinson. That same year, he appeared in two more features, Adventure Island and That Hagen Girl, the latter co-starring a young Ronald Reagan. In 1948, he starred in Miraculous Journey, which proved to be a commercial success and helped him secure more substantial roles. By the early 1950s, Rory Calhoun had become a familiar face in the Western and adventure genres. He starred in Massacre, River, and Sand in 1949, then transitioned to more complex characters, including his first antagonist role in Return of the Frontiersman, 1950. That same year, he also played the lead in Country Fair, showing his versatility beyond the Western mold. Throughout the 1950s, Calhoun became a staple of Hollywood Westerns. His rugged demeanor and horseback skills made him an ideal choice for films such as Meet Me After the Show, 1951, Rogue River, 1951, and I'd Climb the Highest Mountain, 1952. He also appeared in high-profile films like With a Song in My Heart, 1953, The Silver Whip, 1953, and the glamorous romantic comedy How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953. Where he shared the screen with Marilyn Monroe and Lauren Bacall. His 1954 projects included River of No Return, another Monroe co-starer, The Yellow Tomahawk, and A Bullet is Waiting. In 1955, he starred in The Spoilers, followed by Raw Edge, 1956, The Hired Gun, 1957, and Ride Out for Revenge, 1958. All solidifying his reputation as a reliable box office draw in action and frontier narratives. In the 1960s, Calhoun continued to act steadily, appearing in diverse roles. He headlined Thunder in Carolina, 1960, an auto racing drama, and The Colossus of Rhodes, 1961, an Italian sword and sandal epic. He followed up with The Treasure of Monte Cristo, 1961, Marco Polo, 1962, The Young and the Brave, 1963, Apache Uprising, 1965, Our Men in Baghdad, 1966, and The Emerald of Artatman, 1969, taking on more international film projects as his career matured. During the 1970s and 1980s, he transitioned to more eccentric and cult classic films, including the campy horror sci-fi Night of the Lepus, 1972, the satirical horror film Motel Hell, 1980, and the gritty urban drama Angel, 1984, where he played an aging cowboy detective. One of his last notable roles in this period was in Hell Comes to Frogtown, 1989, a post-apocalyptic action film that became a minor cult favorite. Rory Calhoun's final film role came in 1992 with Pure Country, where he portrayed Ernest Tucker, a seasoned and kind-hearted rancher who served as a paternal figure to George Strait's character. This role brought his career full circle, allowing him to return to his cowboy roots one last time. Rory Calhoun's personal life was as colorful and eventful as many of the characters he portrayed on screen. Over the course of his life, he was married 3 times, and each of these marriages added chapters filled with drama, complexity, and deeply personal relationships. His first marriage was to actress and singer Lita Barron, whom he wed in 1948. The couple remained together for over 2 decades, a substantial length of time by Hollywood standards. During their marriage, they became parents to 3 daughters, Cindy, Tammy, and Lori. These years were marked by the highs and lows typical of a Hollywood marriage in the limelight, with Rory's rugged good looks and leading man charm bringing him constant attention from fans and from other women. The end of Rory and Lita's marriage was as public as it was contentious. In 1970, after 22 years of marriage, Lita Barron filed for divorce. In her suit, she accused Calhoun of having engaged in a staggering number of extramarital affairs, so many, in fact, that she famously named actress Betty Grable as just one among 79 women with whom Rory had allegedly had adulterous relationships. The claim made headlines, feeding the media's appetite for scandal and painting a dramatic picture of Calhoun's off-screen escapades. Rather than deny the allegations, Calhoun responded with a quip that became legendary. Heck, she didn't even include half of them. This candid, almost humorous admission underscored both his reputation as a ladies' man and his defiant, unrepentant attitude toward the public's judgment of his personal affairs. Following his divorce from Barron, Calhoun married journalist Sue Rhodes in 1971. Their relationship was marked by both passion and instability. They divorced in 1979 after 8 years together, but their story was not over yet. In a somewhat unexpected twist, Calhoun and Rhodes rekindled their romance and remarried in 1982, demonstrating the deep connection and enduring affection that lingered between them despite earlier difficulties. From this union, Calhoun had a daughter named Rory, his namesake, who carried on not only his name, but also his legacy in a personal sense. In addition to the children from his 2 official marriages, Calhoun also fathered a daughter named Athena Marcus Calhoun with actress Bettina Marcus. Their relationship, though less publicized than his marriages, further illustrated Calhoun's complex and layered personal life. Athena would go on to forge her own identity, distinct from but influenced by her famous father. Altogether, Rory Calhoun was the father of 5 daughters, each from different chapters of his life, and each a reflection of the many relationships and bonds he formed along the way. His romantic life, filled with high-profile affairs, reconciliations, and family ties, added a compelling dimension to the man behind the camera. Though often remembered for his cowboy swagger and movie star charisma, Calhoun's personal life revealed a man whose passions and flaws were as dramatic as any role he ever played. Behind the bright lights and polished charm of Hollywood's golden age existed simmering rivalries, bruised egos, and long-held grudges. Among the more unexpected feuds to ever take root in that glittering landscape was one between Rory Calhoun, the ruggedly handsome Western star known for his rebellious past, and the patrician, quietly intense Gregory Peck, one of the era's most admired leading men. While both men carved out iconic careers in the film industry, their paths, personalities, and values were as different as the roles they portrayed on screen. And for reasons that were deeply personal and painfully enduring, Rory Calhoun came to truly hate Gregory Peck more than anyone else in Hollywood. It was not a hatred born of envy, though some who didn't know Calhoun well might have assumed that. After all, Gregory Peck enjoyed a cleaner image, more consistent critical acclaim, and had secured several Oscar nominations, eventually winning for To Kill a Mockingbird, while Calhoun was often typecast in B-westerns and action flicks. But Rory, who prided himself on living life on his own terms, didn't begrudge success. He had his own fans, his own niche, and he had fought hard to make a comeback after a troubled youth, including a stint in prison for car theft and armed robbery. No, the root of Calhoun's loathing for Peck ran deeper. It was emotional, it was personal, and it was about betrayal, perceived or real. Their enmity allegedly began during the early 1950s, when both actors were under contract with major studios, and studio heads frequently manipulated stars like pawns in a chess game. Calhoun was on the rise, gaining attention not only for his rugged charisma, but also for the sensational revelation of his criminal past, which the press spun into a tale of redemption and reform. This was the era when image was everything, and many insiders claim that Calhoun suspected Gregory Peck of trying to sabotage his image behind the scenes. According to a long-circulated story whispered in studio corridors, Calhoun believed that Peck, known for his dignified presence and tightly controlled public persona, had made a disparaging comment about Calhoun's criminal background during a studio meeting. It was said that Peck, when asked about a possible co-starring opportunity with Calhoun in a war drama, had reportedly scoffed, "I won't share the screen with a convict." Whether this comment was ever actually made has never been verified, but once the rumor reached Rory's ears, the damage was done. Calhoun, a man who prized loyalty and honesty, was furious. He believed in second chances. He had needed one himself, and he couldn't stomach the idea that someone of Peck's standing would pass judgment on his past or try to blacklist him in any way. Their paths crossed multiple times after that, both socially and professionally, but the tension was always thick and visible to those in the know. Calhoun once reportedly walked out of a Hollywood charity gala when Peck was scheduled to give a speech. On the set of River of No Return, 1954, which Calhoun filmed with Marilyn Monroe and Robert Mitchum, a studio executive tried to mend fences between the two actors by suggesting Calhoun be cast in a supporting role opposite Peck in an upcoming Western. Calhoun flatly refused, saying, "I'd rather ride a real horse into a real canyon than ride a fake trail with Gregory Peck." For his part, Gregory Peck remained characteristically silent on the matter. Dignified and restrained, he never publicly acknowledged any bad blood with Calhoun, and some speculated that either he was unaware of Calhoun's deep dislike or simply chose to ignore it. Others, however, claimed that Peck's indifference was part of the problem, that Rory felt snubbed not just once, but repeatedly, by a man who wielded silent power in an industry where perception meant everything. Over time, as both men aged and the Hollywood landscape evolved, Calhoun's hatred did not diminish. Even in his later years, when asked in interviews about his contemporaries, he would brush aside mentions of Peck with a sneer or silence. Close friends noted that Rory, despite his gruff exterior, was deeply loyal and had a long memory, especially for slights. In his mind, Gregory Peck represented not just a personal affront, but a symbol of the kind of polished elitism Calhoun had always fought against. Peck was the favored son of Hollywood, clean-cut, classically educated, and morally righteous. Calhoun was the outlaw-turned-movie star, a man who had pulled himself up from the depths and built a career with grit, sweat, and a little scandal. Whether Gregory Peck ever knew the full extent of Rory Calhoun's contempt is unknown, but among those who knew Rory best, it was no secret. Of all the people he had crossed paths with in a long, colorful, and often controversial career, there was no one he truly hated more than Gregory Peck. Rory Calhoun passed away on April 28, 1999, at the age of 76, marking the end of a long and colorful life that had spanned decades of stardom in Hollywood's golden age and beyond. His death occurred at Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Burbank, California, a city long associated with the entertainment industry and one in which Calhoun had spent much of his professional life. The hospital itself, located near several major studios, including Warner Brothers, had often served the medical needs of actors, producers, and crew members who had built their lives around film and television, making it a fitting final setting for a man so deeply entrenched in the world of show business. The causes of his death were complications from emphysema and diabetes, two chronic and debilitating diseases that had likely been worsened by years of a rugged lifestyle that included heavy smoking and the hard living typical of many leading men of his era. Emphysema, a serious lung condition commonly associated with long-term smoking, gradually strips the lungs of their ability to absorb oxygen, making breathing a constant struggle. In Calhoun's case, the disease may have been a particularly cruel fate, given the vigorous athletic image he projected throughout his career in countless westerns and action-packed roles. Once a symbol of vitality and frontier masculinity, he had become physically diminished in his final years by an illness that sapped the very energy and strength that had defined his screen persona. In addition to emphysema, Calhoun also suffered from diabetes, a metabolic disorder that can lead to a range of health complications, including heart disease, kidney failure, and circulation problems. Managing such a condition becomes increasingly difficult with age, and for someone who lived through both the rough-and-tumble Hollywood studio system and personal ups and downs, including brushes with the law in his youth, Calhoun may have faced challenges in maintaining a strict regimen of diet and treatment. The dual assault of emphysema and diabetes no doubt placed tremendous strain on his body during his final years. Though he had retreated from the spotlight by the 1990s, having made his last on-screen appearances in the 1980s, Rory Calhoun remained a vivid presence in the memories of classic film fans and industry veterans alike. His death marked the passing of yet another member of a vanishing breed, the hard-edged, square-jawed leading man who had come of age in the post-war era and left a permanent mark on the Western genre. Known for his deep voice, charismatic screen presence, and a real-life backstory that rivaled anything Hollywood writers could have concocted, Calhoun's legacy endured long after the cameras stopped rolling. He was 76 years old at the time of his passing, an age that reflected a full life lived with both triumph and turmoil. From a troubled youth and time spent in prison to becoming a box office star and heartthrob, his journey